Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for stopping by again. Quite a bit happening. One thing I want to talk to you about is the introduction to the city. Now, back when I did the map of Panama, the country, I said, yeah, I'll do something of the same sort for the city, and I had a lot of interest. Then I confronted the reality of what I was attempting to do, and it's much more challenging. I won't go into all the detail, but it's a lot more challenging to deal with the city than it is to deal with the country as a whole. Actually, you're more general with your comments you make on provinces, but you get a little more specific when you're in one city and you're dealing with lots and lots of neighborhoods. So I didn't want to travel log because I'm not about to go running around the city doing a travel log. It isn't of any use to you. You can get all sorts of stuff like that on the internet already. I didn't want something where I simply lectured. What I decided and give you my opinion, but I mean, what's important here is that you have a tool. I wanted you left with something that you could use. After the video was long gone, and another area popped up, and you were reading, and you wanted to know where the heck that was, and so forth, and where does that fit in with the rest of the city, that you'd be able to do it on your own. So that's exactly how I've approached it. I've got a lot more work to do with it. Now that I've settled and made up my mind, I tried a simple form of it and sent it up north to make sure it was understandable. It was, so I can move forward on it. And I'm going to get it done as quickly as I can. There's editing that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes into making something like that. But it will be done. The great relief is that I now feel I'm actually providing something that may have greater value than simply me being a talking head about the city. You need something more than that. I hope I've done a little bit in that direction. Okay, some good news, and then some other, not bad news, but other news. The good news, Skytrax. I just mentioned these things. I just think it's nice to note. And Skytrax has its annual Airline Travelers Awards for the best airlines, the best airports, the best this, that, what have you. Their best airline is always really competed for heavily. People want to be the best airline. And we, too, are in the international section here with Copa Airlines, but also as a regional airline. So actually, in the Central America and Caribbean region, which is a separate region for Skytrax, they look at two sets of airlines, and those airlines, international airlines, and then regional airlines. Copa qualifies in both categories and won both categories as the best. In addition, Copa's staff won the award as the best staff in the region. So we're very proud of that. I think that's a nice thing and it's something to be grateful for. We make improvements. Now, interestingly enough, in an associated form, although completely separate, there is a publication called the Engineering News Record. It's, as you might imagine, for professional engineers. Every year they have their Global Best Projects Awards in a variety of different categories. Excuse me. And one of those categories is the Global Best Project in Ports. That's airports or seaports. And the winner for 2019 is Tocumen International Airport Expansion Program. So the airline's getting all these great awards, and the airport is getting this recognition. I mean, I think it's just really nice. I point out, too, that Copa, while we see it as our national airline, it's not government-owned. It's privately owned, and it is actively traded in New York Stock Exchange and so forth. It's one of the most successful and profitable regional airlines in the world. So it's grown a lot in recent years, and we're proud of the contribution it makes. And one thing that may not affect you, but will affect some, we hope a lot of people, is that Panama City is a hub throughout the Americas for people coming in on their way to somewhere else. And we want more of them to stop and spend time here. So Copa Airlines is right now beginning this program called Stopover, Panama Stopover. And it simply means that if you're flying at Copa and you arrive, you can spend up to 7 days here doing whatever you want, and then go on to your final destination. It's called Open Jaws, as many of you know, without any further expense. Now, you have to declare that at the beginning when you buy your ticket, because they need to know when you're leaving. But the key point is that you can you can pick and choose up to 7 days here, and they'll also have special tours and what have you to show people around who like to have a tour and so forth, as well as provide them with this opportunity, and that's great. I think that's a big plus too. So a lot of things are happening in that line. It seemed to have to do with air travel. We're very happy to hear that. So it's the lifeblood of the country in many respects, right along with the canal. Now, well, from the not so, it's amusing, even if it's not especially good news for some people. You may, I'm sure you do remember, if you've seen the last few videos, that I talk about rising sea levels. Not from a political viewpoint or a scientific viewpoint, but from the idea of if you're buying on a property on the coast, you really need to be sure that you know where you stand in this regard and where what's expected of you, both locally here and from in the future when you try to sell a property you've purchased. You're putting out 6 figures, people. You want to take everything into account. So I raised that issue, and shortly thereafter, it was the next day, Ed, who will eventually be sitting here talking to me, and yes, Ed, we will get that done. He is one of the people who came in under the MetroMatch program. He sent me this photograph I have up here. This is at a beach area very close to Panama City. So as you can see, they made lemonade out of lemons. In other words, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that the owner did not build it this way to take advantage of the sea, but rather the sea came and joined him. And it's a bright way to do it. I thought, this looks like fun, you know. So maybe good for him. But nonetheless, as the second photo shows, those waves are pretty busy at work down there. I'm not going any further than that. I haven't talked to the owner, et cetera, and so forth. But it was interesting to see it, and I thank Ed for having sent those on. It's a little reminder that it's not just talk. We have to deal with reality. And I do want to take a hat off here, although she may not be aware of it, is Marlene, or she may pronounce it Marlene, otherwise Marlene Testa of La Estrella, which is one of our major local newspapers. And Ms. Testa did a very fine job of a 3-part series, a video followed by 2 articles, on an area called Punta Chame, where it's a peninsula, a spit of land, as we'd say, and it goes sticking out into the water, and it's turning into an island. And this is, Ms. Testa doesn't have the data on that particular area for rising sea levels, so she mentions it, she can't really deal with it directly. But she certainly can and does discuss sand erosion and the removal of sand for construction purposes and other things. It's really scandalous what's gone on. Sand is a very valuable commodity. If you didn't know that, it is very much so. And it has been disappearing. It's been taken. And not so much disappearing, people have been taking it, and it has not been at all controlled. And this is leading to a major problem, and that in turn may turn this peninsula into an island very soon. So, more power to her for bringing this to everyone's attention. This is the sort of thing that gets the ball rolling, so to speak, because it isn't a question involved with rising sea levels, which is the movement of sand. And the 2 issues are closely aligned. And one comes up, the other does. Since she did her articles, however, some more information has become available that is much more specific to much more detailed for the globe as a whole and for Panama. And indeed, that area looks like it's potentially going to face some really serious problems in this coming decade. That's coming decade, the 2030 by then. And that would make me want to stop and think twice before I bought there. Now, the point is that's not guaranteed, and that's another estimate being made. And yes, it's very impressive, all the work they go to make the best estimate. But it's what it is, and you cannot automatically assume the worst just because it fits into somebody's, political or otherwise agenda. It's a possibility, and I'm looking at it more carefully, and we'll talk more about it. If it really convinces me that we have something here worth talking about. I do believe that's the case at this point, but I just don't have a complete grip on it, and I'm not here to play games, So I always take these things very seriously, and I raise them only when I'm headed in that direction, or when I finally am convinced that there's something to be shared. So we'll see how it goes with that. You see, I don't always talk about wonderful things happening in Panama. There are these things that are serious, way more serious than most of the problems that people think we probably face when they come down, and not the case. Now, another final matter here I will just discuss, and I'll be mentioning it from time to time, hopefully for all the right reasons. The Constitution of the Republic of Panama was prepared back in 1979, 40 years ago. It reflected the changes that came about as a result of the signing of the Panama Canal treaties and so forth. The canal is treated it's a very special property. It's done beautifully. I think it's extremely well written. And they protected the canal's independence, a relative independence, from politicians getting their hands on the money and giving a good deal of authority right to the Canal Authority itself. It's worked out beautifully, so they did a good job. However, much of the rest of the Constitution is not thought to be up to date. People want it updated. There's a strong general consensus that needs to be done. So that process, there's a couple of different ways to do it. One particular variety has been started and it's out there, and of course immediately leads to a lot of this debate and controversy, because these are powerful issues. Just think, if you come from a country with a constitution, if you're sitting down as a people to completely redesign the whole thing, wow, you'd be really getting yourself into the midst of something that could be very complex. Well, it is, and yet at the same token, this is a small country. We will debate the whole thing. They will make up their minds, the people will. It will be done over time. There will be, very unhappy people and maybe very happy people, who knows what all. But we will go about it in a fairly civilized manner. At least I trust we will. Panama's reputation is we have very strong debates over these issues, but we don't turn to violence. We don't go the road that so many others in Latin America have gone. And I haven't yet to meet a Panamanian who really would like to see that happen. We're not jealous of Chile. We feel sorry for them. And heaven alone knows how we feel about Venezuela, Nicaragua, Ecuador, and others who have gone through, and now Bolivia. The best thing to do is to find consensus within the society and have your very strong and powerful debates. But eventually you pull together and you get some sort of consensus, you come to an agreement, and you move on. That is how things have worked out more than once here. And so we don't have a record at all of overturning buses and setting cars on fire. And Chile, 21 people are dead? Please. So, it breaks my heart. It's a wonderful country to think that they've gone through this as just a terrible tragedy. But that's not Panama. So I'm not suggesting it is, but the point is that this is the sort of thing that, because it will be very strongly worded and people will feel very, very powerfully about various issues, that it can be exaggerated and turned into something, Panama is on the verge of being another Ecuador, Chile, or Nicaragua, or something like that, when in fact, no, we are Panama, and all of us, residents who have a responsibility as well, and the citizenry. And we have kept, the people have done this well so many times. I have great confidence that they're going to do it again. But there may be some exciting moments, but nothing like what they're having to deal with elsewhere. That would be really a shock, really a surprise if that were to happen. And if it does, we'll deal with it. But I don't expect it, and we're certainly not anywhere vaguely near that at this stage. Just people are raising their voices and waving their fingers and getting upset and speaking very seriously. I'm not trivializing it. But they're talking to everybody's talking. That's the important thing. So I'll mention it again if it becomes necessary to discuss it. But this is amongst the citizenry of the country. They're the ones who own the country, so to speak, and it is their constitution. I have great confidence in them, as I always have. And I have no doubt they're going to work something out that's going to be good for everybody by the time it's done. I sincerely hope and pray for that, and I know they do too. So I'll keep you up posted if there's anything there. Otherwise, I expect to get back for the next few days here, trying to get this city thing together so I can get that off to you. So thank you for your patience tonight. It's been good to be here with you. It's been a little bit of a break, a little longer break than I wanted, but that's not going to happen the next time. The next one's coming faster than that. Thanks again for stopping by. See you in a little while.